The world of Castlevania is full of violence and conflict. From warring vampire courts to mad monks to creatures from the depths of hell itself, the average person living in this world knows there's an awful lot of reasons why they probably won't see tomorrow. Yet, for all the danger, there's still hope. A reason to spit in death's face and to keep fighting against all odds. And from the commoners to the kings, that reason is most often protecting the next generation of people so that they can live better lives than those of their parents. It's this reason that, in an episode of Castlevania Season 4, a ragtag band of farmers choose to take up arms against the vampire nation of Styria, which would see them and their children's children as human livestock to be caged. The small militia is well aware of the superior strength and speed of their vampire oppressors, which makes the only sane option a tactical strike at dawn when the vampires are most vulnerable to the sun. This is where we join Striga, the towering vampire warrior who is about to rout them down to the last fleeing soldier. She and her lover Mirana are both members of the ruling coven of Styria, and also happen to be a power couple to rival Drac and Lisa. The two had been up all night discussing how best to fight their sister Carmilla's war on mankind, before Breakfast came charging into the camp and started setting fire to their tents. As a career military commander, Striga has already prepared for the worst case scenario. While securing Mirana's safety, she dons a custom suit of armor that prevents the sun's rays from reaching her skin. With this one practical bit of foresight, Striga has completely nullified any single advantage that the humans may have had over her. The day armor itself also looks sick as hell, reminding us of a certain black swordsman and the absolute legend of a mangaka who created him. Striga steps out of the tent in her armor. And finally, we get to see some action. When I showed this scene to my friend, Masters in Animation Meg Tooten, they were impressed with the fluidity of Castlevania's hand-drawn animation, and the weight behind each swing of Striga's sword. They were convinced that the shots of Striga running in her armor were rotoscope, or at the very least, a product of meticulous attention to anatomy and how bodies move. While the animation itself is killer, the framing of the scene keeps the focus on the most interesting moments of impact, whether it's one man being bisected or the next one bravely rushing towards the middle of the frame before Striga catches him and rips him right off the screen, only for his sword to come flying at our faces. I may have convinced them to watch this show based only on this scene alone. Yes, the day armor scene is a beautiful bloodbath, and the people at Powerhouse Animation deserve infinite credit and respect for bringing it to life. Striga's resemblance to Guts of Berserk fame is no coincidence either. The whole sequence is an intentional homage to one of the best dark fantasy stories ever illustrated. I mentioned it earlier, both because the comparison is unavoidable, and because there's no such thing as too much time spent praising Kentaro Miura. It's exhilarating to see the kind of sword swings that can cut through several combatants finally be done justice with animation, even if it couldn't have been in an adaptation of Berserk. This one scene alone cements Striga as an absolute beast as far as armored fighters in fantasy go. Goblin Slayer has been real quiet since this dropped. What I personally love about this scene is how subtle signs of physical exertion add an extra layer of personality to Striga as she tears through the humans. When she pauses to catch her breath before diving back into the fray, the audience is able to relate to that. Even though not all of us are capable of Striga's impressive feats of strength, we can understand that the swole vampire has limits to her physiology. Like in real life, wearing a full suit of armor and swinging a greatsword through flesh and bone is not effortless, and by showing the fatigue it causes, the verisimilitude of the fiction is never broken. Listening to Striga's howling cries of war as they gradually become growls of frustration clues us into the state of mind behind the helmet. As the battle drags on, the timing of her weapon strikes becomes less elegant, and the background itself disintegrates into a manic dance of lines on light. And, with one final shot of the sun streaming through Striga's visor, the violence comes to an abrupt but fitting end. It's not until the next scene that the audience learns that the humans who attacked the vampire camp were little more than a common mob. Striga herself is the one who provides this additional context, showing an unexpected level of compassion for the lives she brutally ended. Not because she believes that human lives are meaningful, but because there is no glory in killing them. What these farmers fought an unwinnable battle for was the smallest chance that standing up to the vampires would make a difference for the rest of their people. When themes are brought up in media discussion, it can sometimes feel like a routine dissection, where the goal is to identify a story's vital organs. But in a truly great story, themes are not stagnant lumps of narrative tissue, they are more like the life's blood of a story, circulating through the plot and characters and sustaining them with reason and purpose. As much as the day armor scene is good, bloody fun, and praiseworthy on its own, it feeds perfectly into the thematic through-line of Season 4 and perhaps Castlevania in its entirety. Death, tyrants, and war will forever plague the world and feast on the weak, but those who outlast the darkness will continue to fight against it until there is no more easy prey left to take. Eventually, even the oldest killers can't compete with that insignificant desire to simply keep on living. That is the lasting legacy of these dead farmers. It's the reason why the Belmont family name means something. And, in so many words, it is the power of Castlevania's day armor scene. This has been Dire Gentleman. Thank you for watching, and I'll be seeing you in the near future.